All right, everybody, welcome back to the channel. It's been a few days, but I want to drop a new video. We have actually a few things to talk about. There's quite a few things going on with Walking Dead lately, with the Daryl Dixon show, with Dead City, with I guess events taking place, and just certain things coming up. We had some comments from Norman Reedus because, of course, he was kind of cornered in an interview and asked what's going on with the possibility of a reunion. And as fans, that's all we're asking for. We're just asking for that reunion, and they've been really kind of tight-lipped about it, and just the steps getting there are just very, very slow. But with the end of Daryl Dixon confirmed at this point, and we know that they're not going to go past season 4, and with Dead City apparently going in that same direction, but nothing's been confirmed 100% yet. We are hoping that those reunion talks are actually taking place, and we've got some comments and things I want to go over, and just some general state of where the Walking Dead universe is right now, how it stands with its spinoffs, with its future and everything. And so we have a handful of topics to talk about. But the first one, I just wanted to go over a couple of things that Norman Reedus said about the possibility of a reunion, because that's all we freaking want is just a goddamn reunion. And we've been more than patient. We've been loyal as fans for the most part. I mean, a lot of them did give up and kind of walk away and didn't want to deal with it anymore, just kind of were over it, which we can all understand. The Walking Dead's not been perfect by any means. There's been a lot of ups and downs as far as the spin-offs, as far as the main show, the constant change of showrunners, Scott Gimple not being really anyone's favorite person, just the way he's kind of gotten into it, and his stories, his ideas, his dismissal of certain cast and everything like that, that's really just not sat well with people. And he's also another big reason why people have walked away from the show, from the universe, and just said they've had enough. But today I want to talk about the first thing, which is the interview that Norman Reedus did here recently, talking about just Walking Dead, his show, and will we ever get that reunion, and what would have to happen, and all the things like that. But he goes on to say, I'm all for it. It just has to be done in the right way. And I know Andrew Lincoln, feels the same way. We can't just make a show and get them all together somehow. It has to fit organically. And to be honest, those characters are not the same characters as they were when they were together. They're completely different. Daryl's relationship with Rick wouldn't be the exact same relationship they had 6 years ago. All these characters have evolved. And he's not wrong. I mean, these characters are completely different compared to who they were years ago. And because Rick made Daryl a better person, because when we first met Daryl, he was very much like Merle, and we all know Merle wasn't the best character, the best person in the world. He wasn't the best influence on Daryl, and just their general upbringing was really bad. And that kind of made Daryl and shaped him to who he was. But then Rick come along and showed him that there's a different way to look at things. There's a different way to treat people and things like that. So we know that towards the end in season 9 with Daryl and Rick, they had their falling out, they had their differences of how they should have handled Negan and everything. But beyond that, we had Daryl spend the next 6 years after the events of that episode in season 9 looking for Rick. The premise of his show was him going out looking for Rick, but then he inadvertently gets stranded there in Paris. And so there's just a lot of different things that are going on as far as where is the universe going? Where is the reunion going? Is it going to happen? Things like that. So Norman Reedus definitely isn't wrong in that aspect, where we don't want to just throw this reunion at people and be like, there you go, there's your reunion, shut up, leave us alone. We want the story to fit. We want it to flow. We want it to make sense. We don't want it to be, a story of happenstance or circumstance or whatever. We want the story to work. We want it to be a natural reunion. We want it to be a very climatic reunion. We want it to be something big and something large in the universe and everything. So there's that fight in itself to make the story make sense, make it where Norman Reedus and Andy Lincoln want to be a part of it, because Andy Lincoln himself has said in the past multiple times that he's open to the idea, but if it's a good story, if it's a good fit. So we have all that going on with, how they want to approach it, and having them hopefully approach it correctly. And in my opinion, Scott Gimple needs to have very little to do with it. But we all know that he's going to be kind of the top dog as far as the person who's in charge of all the creativity, aside from, of course, he's going to take input from Andy Lincoln and Norman, because it's their characters. They've been with the show for so long and everything. So we know that they're going to have a lot of say as far as the creative and the story input. So there's that side of it. Then Norman Reedus also goes on to say, concerning his show and the story and how it's evolved over the years and just where the story fits right now and how, how would they go about doing a reunion. But he says we're pretty strong over here in Europe right now. The network promotes the shows as the Walking Dead universe, so they sort of put them together. But individually, our show is much different than those other shows. I don't know that you could just backtrack us from Europe and have it easily fit in that world. I'd love to see those characters in a room again. I'd personally love to see those guys again, but it has to be in a way that works. Again, completely agree in that sense, where it has to be a way it works. It has to be a way that the story isn't just kind of mangled pieces of story that are just kind of forced together where you don't believe anything that's happened. We've already seen too much of that within this universe where there's a lot of story that doesn't make sense, a lot of story that's been disregarded and then just completely forgotten about, and they don't revisit it. They don't answer those questions. I could give examples, but you could see other videos for that in my library or whatever you want to call it. But we've had a lot of those things over the years where the stories just didn't make sense, and this is one concern, that we don't want them to take the story and not have it make sense, not have it where it's a good gripping story, because there's a lot of ways it could go wrong. There's a lot of ways that they could screw it up. So we don't want to see that for sure. But moving on from that topic, there is one other thing, I guess, in my list of things I want to talk about where apparently, and I don't know the details or anything of this, this is kind of just news that I've heard from other creators and whatnot, but they are holding a 15-year anniversary event for The Walking Dead because, as we know, October 31st of 2025 is the 15-year anniversary of the show, of the universe, and they're holding an event. Apparently, it's going to be on October 14th, and Norman Reedus, Melissa McBride, Scott Gimple, the owners of AMC or the president of AMC, they're going to be there too to talk about the past, present, and future of Walking Dead. What that entails, no idea. Will they do an announcement of some sort? I'm kind of doubting it. I think they might be saving that for something else. This is more or less just them capitalizing on the fact that they've made it this far. They have all of these shows, all these spinoffs and everything, and they're just going to basically celebrate the brand, I'm pretty sure. I don't think it's has any intention of giving us any kind of announcements or just anything regarding the future or anything. Yeah, they might have some ideas they want to throw out or say, kind of tease us with, oh, we're thinking about doing this or that. I don't think they're going to come out right and say, oh, we have plans. Here's what they are, or here's a new show for the spin-offs or whatever. I don't think it's going to go that far, but they do have an event that's taking place to just simply, I believe, celebrate the 15 years of Walking Dead, for better, for worse. And I think it's more so just to celebrate it, just to be like, oh, here it is. This is how far we've made, because a lot of shows don't make it that far. A lot of universes, the only example that I can think of on the top of my head that has made it that far was the Supernatural series. That made it as a single show for 15 seasons. Again, for better, for worse. There were seasons that were good, some that were just not that great. But, and, with it being the final season or the final episode more so because of the restrictions of COVID and everything, it didn't get to see its full potential. So there is that. But aside from that, there's not many shows that make it that far. So it's exciting that they're going to celebrate it and everything, and hopefully we'll get some sort of news about anything. But as far as a reunion or anything like that, I doubt it. I doubt we see anything within the next year or so. Maybe we will see something in 2030 when it's the 20-year anniversary. I hope not. I hope it's before that, because at that point it's just dragging it on and you're making people miserable for the sole purpose of doing it. Because Daryl Dixon is ending next year. Dead City more than likely pretty close around the same time frame, because they're going to be start filming Dead City season 3. I want to say here in a few weeks, here going into September, because we have the premiere of Daryl Dixon season 3 on September 7th, and they've already announced that they're going to start filming season 4. I think they're actually in the process of doing so. But aside from that, I mean, we don't know what's to expect of The Walking Dead and whatnot. What if we're ever going to see a reunion, or just what the plans are there. I'm hoping that Norman Reedus' comments are kind of alluding to the fact that they're having the discussions, at least. So I'm hoping that's the case. Other than that, Daryl Dixon, we got the next season come up. We did get some new promo arts for the season. We got the new poster and whatnots, and it's not individual character posters like we've gotten in the past. It's actually Daryl and Carol riding away or riding into a battle. We got arrows flinging back and forth and everything. We got walkers in the background. So this season hopefully will be a little bit better than last year. I was not particularly impressed with season 2. It didn't have a lot going for it with the whole Laurent and Ash storyline. I don't know if they're ever going to revisit that. That might be another thing that they are hopefully keeping kind of on the back burner to lead into another story. But there's been no announcement. There's been no indication that they're going to revisit that character, just what the plans are. So I'm hoping that they didn't just include that, and then they're going to find out that that plane crashed and never made it to its destination. Something stupid like that. So there's always that possibility. Aside from that, we do have some news here as far as the current state of Walking Dead, the spinoffs and whatnot from the Walking Dead world there on Twitter. I don't really get into Twitter or anything anymore, but current status of the Walking Dead universe shows. Daryl Dixon Season 3, set to premiere here in less than a month. Season 4 of Daryl Dixon is in production, filming in Spain. Final season, we know this. Season 3 of Dead City is set to begin filming in Massachusetts here in the next few weeks, I believe. So we know that Dead City is supposedly filming in Massachusetts more so like it did last year, the last season. But there's also rumors that they are going to partially film in Spain, or not in Spain, but in France. So I don't know if there's any truth to that. I don't feel like there would be. It would make zero sense unless it's like an after credit scene, something to connect the shows or something. So there's always that possibility, because I mean, you always have rumors about CRM, about Rick's involvement in CRM, and just how Daryl exactly gets home and all that. So there's just all kinds of rumors and speculation and theories out there. So we have no idea what's actually happening. So anyways, with that, I will wrap it up. We had quite a bit to talk about today, and just to see what's going on with Walking Dead. Hopefully Daryl Dixon Season 3 will give us something to be excited about again. Hopefully we get some sort of announcement that will get us excited again, considering Norman Reedus' comments and everything. Hopefully that there is something happening in the background that we just don't see yet. But anyways, if you enjoyed the video, be sure to leave a like, leave a comment, consider subscribing. I'd really appreciate it, and I will see you next time. Take care. Bye.